The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. As usual, I am one of your hosts, Barnzy, and joined by the inimitable Stuart Williams.
Hey, what's going on, peeps? So we are right here in our hotel room in Fair Lawn. They are just bowling the PTQ this morning for the ToC. Last I checked, the scores are pretty high, which is kind of normal in that bowling center.
For certain guys.
Yeah, I mean, straighter is usually greater there, especially early on. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of urethane balls being drilled this week and thrown.
It's been a unique place. That's where Matt O'Grady, I guess, he has that kind of unique, pretty high rev rate, but he can spin it through the front. He's one of the last guys to really hit him with reactive the whole time before it turned into way more urethane than not. Last year, our defending champion, our mate, Don Barrett.
He put a little bit of a slapping on him with the old urethane ball.
He did, and then went on the show and used a speed.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, red and black thing.
Yeah. So. And last year was the big controversy during this tournament. It was all about urethanes and what was going to happen and not happen. And guys using them, getting them thrown out, bringing in another one, getting that one thrown out, and then bringing in another one.
And in the end, they didn't do anything anyway.
No.
So let us know, where are you watching from? It seems a little slow this morning. We've been dicking around. There you go. I guess the system was a little bit behind. So Pittsburgh native says, go Tim Pfeiffer. Well, Tim has to have one fan, I guess. Only joking. We like Pfeiffer.
We do. Fluffer's
Hey Clint, what's going on?
Trying to get
morning, Kevin. Florida, nice. Colorado Springs. Somebody in Detroit. Sorry, where are you at? Motor City in Detroit. Let's go.
Gotham.
Copenhagen. Pittsburgh. What's going on? Graniteville. That sounds working class. Graniteville.
Tommy must not be from there.
No. Nebraska. Morning, listening from Idaho. Cool. Northern Kentucky. Morning, Derek. Hello from Chicago. Well, we got a Waterloo, Iowa. My guys for nationals.
Oh yeah.
Go Tim. Well, you know where I'm from, Stu. Harrisburg, PA. So there you go. Driving to Carolina to practice. Okay, it was a good start. Oh, we got people are coming in from all over the place. This is cool. Thanks for the suggestion of TNT or Eternity to fill my house, and I went with TNT. Love it so far. That's awesome to hear. Chicago suburbs. Where else have we got? New York City. Vegas. Birmingham, UK. What's up, Gareth? Him and his brother. Good bowlers in the UK. Virginia. Oh, yeah.
Charlotte, Tony running another tournament at Clutch next weekend.
Let's talk about Cuyahoga Falls.
Oh, let's do. I can't wait.
Oh, wow. We have got a lot of people. So, yeah, we've got pretty much all over. Somebody watching from Allen, Texas, Washington, Kansas, Salina. Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
And then Trophy Club.
That's not that far from me either. So,
oh, yeah, I forgot they still run that, to be honest. My bad. Oh, well. Guess you made your choice.
Okay.
So we bowled a regional this weekend.
Yeah.
I was a late sub for Tommy Jones to bowl with my mate Chris here. Whew, it was a rough one.
It wasn't good, and it wasn't his fault. As much as this pains me, is the nicest thing Stu had ever said to me, that bowling with me in the over under 50 tournaments was the cheat code, and I broke the code. So it was a train wreck. I could not strike.
Your spare game was okay though.
Well, it got lots of opportunities, but way too many splits, and really just pretty crossed up most of the time for something it was about as embarrassing and poor a block score wise as I could come up with on something that wasn't the U.S. Open. It was could never get off any momentum going, and so I think but I also I had two 230s and not much else.
No, we were bowling on 45 feet, Dick Weber pattern. Our squad definitely had more rev rate than the first squad. Yes, Tony, we were in pretty deep. Yeah, the lanes broke down kind of funky because, like, for example, one of the teams that basically the team that we followed that caused us the most problems when we followed the McCunes. The lanes were significantly drier when we went to those lanes. And then that really kind of causes the issue because, I mean, for me personally, I shot 250, then I followed them and I shot 190, then I shot 270, I followed them, I shot 2-0. So that was a pretty big difference for me. It really put me into like transition woes. So anyway, long story short, we got to the last game. We needed a big one. We couldn't really find it. I had 250 runners the 10th and fast 8, and then we missed cashing by like 12. So that was kind of frustrating. But we're moving on. I used a couple of different Zens. A Revenant was pretty much the 3 balls I used. I don't really think I used anything else.
Yeah.
You used...
The only ball I threw any strikes with was a DNA.
Well, you had 230.
I used a little bit of everything. Yeah, I used Revenant. I used both IQs, got some play. I don't know. I cycled through a lot of them. But, yeah, it was pretty frustrating. You had pretty good bar reaction most of the time. You were bowling good. Some pairs you could strike more than others in certain pairs, but certainly had were carrying the load and not able to get as much as I didn't think you got as much score as you bowled. And
yeah, we
ended up missing it by.
I think we ended up missing. We missed the check by 12. I think we missed the cut by like 50
or something. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, maybe a couple more than that actually.
Yeah,
it was what it was. So what do you do when you can't find a shot, change ball, move around? Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you look around a little bit. You see who's bowling good, who's not bowling good, and try and come up with some characteristics of both. Sometimes the guys that aren't bowling good are as good a tell as the ones that are, because they keep you away from doing the wrong thing. And so, yeah.
Tony asked an interesting question we get asked a lot. On that condition, is it better to move right and ball down?
I tried that. It didn't end up being super good.
I mean,
for the most part, like you balled down and then stayed in a similar zone. To change speeds to kind of, you still want hook right and oil left is ultimately.
I mean, you've got to look a little bit. You got to look a little bit on our squad who was doing well. Doherty came pretty strong at the end. He clearly isn't playing to the right. Maldonado bowled really well for the majority.
Yeah, and he's always
the McCunes did pretty well. They weren't playing to the right. So there
wasn't really any free hook right of 8. You could still miss the head pin right if you threw it there fast. There was just plenty of early hook, and I struggled a little bit with the early hook part, and just really got crossed up. Picture got bad for a while, and I didn't get myself out of it. You got me lofting for a little bit, looked all right for a little while, and then we kind of another pair that hooked, and I think I got out of the right cycle again, and then kind of went down a decision tree where there wasn't a whole lot of good options. It didn't really reset and go back.
Yeah,
over to where we were.
It's very difficult.
So,
you get a little frustrated with how you bowl, and then you'd like, and then if you sit down and you write down, all the ball changes you made, this is just tips for you guys at home. If you're in a block, kind of remember or write down in your phone what changes you made, and then a couple of days later, look at the changes and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, what would have made me do that? Because it's amazing how many times when you look back on it, you're just like, well, that was weird.
yes.
What made me think that was a good idea? Like,
Yeah.
and we've all been there. Okay, we got our first super chat of the day. AJ Mohammed, bowling on Shark, Zen Soul, and Phase 2 are my ball choices. Any thoughts on ball choices for that pattern? I would think that those 3 balls are pretty medium.
They're
Unless
all basically the same core.
Yeah, unless
well.
you were very rev dominant, I would think that you might need a stronger ball for the start, maybe a gem or a reality. Would be my thoughts on Shark. I guess it also depends on what the lane surface is like.
The other thing is, once they break down, you have a lot of cores that want to roll earlier and be smooth.
Yeah.
It might serve you to have one that's like a Fate, Revenant, any of those kind of longer, flippier. Night Road's probably a pretty big jump from those right there, but X2, those kind of things. So
Matt Ogle says, Barnes, you're gonna have those bright ass shoes on today. Do you want to reach down and show him what he's talking about?
Oh, yeah. Just daily wear, but I wore them in with pants into Jackson because it was pouring rain and 30 degrees, and I wasn't going to put on dress shoes in the middle of the parking lot.
And it became a thing.
It became a thing because, well, I don't wear those.
Oh, because bowlers are assholes.
He's actually a good guy, though. It was weird that he saw it first, though.
Oh, yeah. Oil they use isn't new formula from Brazil.
Yeah.
The center uses next gen endurance 46. First time I've seen or heard of this.
I heard it. I talked to Larry because that's what Bobby first told me was Formula 46, and he just got it crossed up. It was a different oil. So he's a good sport.
Hookahs are comfy.
Those shoes are crazy comfortable, and as an old guy that has spent a lot of years on my feet playing sports, those are a welcome reprieve from.
Yes, David. It'd be a significant step up as well from what we've been seeing. The Ruby is quite a bit stronger than we kind of expected it to be.
I drilled mine basically the same. And as you look at my review, I've drilled the same as a Hustle Camo. No, I mean Hustle USA. That has a little polish on it. Expected to be fairly similar, even though it flared less, and it hooked way more.
Yeah,
for me, it's way closer to what I think people expect an IQ Tour Black to be. Fans of the gold will probably be.
When Chris says IQ Tour Black, he just means the original IQ.
The original IQ Tour. I just saw my colors. I didn't get to throw that one.
It's really. Also blue, so that makes it.
Well, and it's close enough to. It might be getting blue now. But,
it's always been blue.
Yeah. No.
Oh, at Chris.
Yes.
I bowled high level until 26 and then restarted back at 42. Outside of fatigue, what are the other differences between 20s and 40s? I mean,
ironically, Stu can answer this question as well, but
it's disappearing.
The biggest thing that changed, and the one thing about bowling is you don't have to be able to run miles to do it, but your core and your legs is what I see goes away the most. So the things that you can do the most in between there is make sure that your legs are strong, and it doesn't have to be crazy, but just doing some squats and doing some things to keep your legs strong and getting your core to where you stay in the same positions. Maybe some of the best parts of that is your probably body's not as unbalanced as the rest of us that bowl in those 15 years where you get strong from your right shoulder down through your left leg, and it puts so much torque on your back.
Yeah, it was funny. Norm was talking about that.
Yeah.
Norm goes, look, my hands are almost the same size.
And they hadn't been since
And
he
he
was
goes,
16.
and he goes like
I'm
this,
sure.
and he goes, and now at the gym, my left arm is almost reaching my right arm because it's so like muscle. Ogle asks a fun question, and I got a great answer for him. What would it mean for you guys to win this week? It would mean that Dom would be very lonely in Kokomo. Be taking the flight home then. Might not even come back till the World Series. Deuces.
Yeah.
I'd have 100,000 reasons not to
Formula
be in Kokomo.
45 and just go skip it and have it.
Oh no, don't even care.
But yeah,
just be like, yeah.
You didn't bowl Kokomo last year.
Yeah,
so
I had a
different
tooth.
reason.
I had a tooth about to destroy me.
But serious answer to the question is the Tournament of Champions. So I mean, it means a ton to me coming out. It was still the original all champions bowled with.
Yeah, and it'd be nice for you to win it because then you'd win it as an actual tournament rather than a sweeper, like when you won it.
Yeah. I led it 3 times when it was a tournament. The time I won it, ironically, it was a sweeper. And I was the guy that bitched about those 13 games for a win as much as anyone, and I think I bowled 11 or 12.
Yeah, I had to dig in on Chris fair. There because I mean I 100% don't care. It's just fun that that the bowling gods did it just to be mean.
They do. They know.
They know. Totally fucked with it.
3 different times, 56 games, was the leader. Lost to Couch, lost to Kulik, lost to Haugen. How could I forget? Then we bowl best of. I think I bowled 11 games and 2 on the show. And Charles stoned 8 basically to create an opportunity. Yeah. But it'd be very cool. 20 titles, a major, all that stuff is super
and
important.
Suck it, Jones.
And in this place, which is one of the most historic venues, probably the most historic venue we have left on tour.
Are there a lot of GB4s? The hybrid one seems to be going down quite a bit. I think players are trying to figure out where to use it, but yeah, I've seen a few of those. Not so much the Pearl one. Do you guys like the 17 game? It depends. If I make the show, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think the options are when they decided to have this many shows for the Tournament of Champions are either a step ladder or a bracket. And I think ultimately why it's this is because in brackets, lots of times those top couple of seeds end up with the short end of the deal. To be first and then have an opportunity to finish 9th. And I'm sure anybody thinks that's particularly fair. So this could be very interesting. It could be not. I don't know. We'll find out as it goes. But I have learned over the years that while I used to just offhand kind of automatically disagree with some of Tom's more unique ideas, that some of them have come out and been pretty clever or turned out to be pretty good ideas. And so maybe this will end up being, maybe somebody will qualify 16th and run, make a 10-game run on the ladder.
Beat the all-time PBA record.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some opportunities to, I could get my record to 500 in one tournament on TV. So
16 TV games to win a title.
Let's go.
So somebody could
still get paid one incentive.
I was about to say, somebody could literally win more games on TV than you want to win the whole tournament.
Yeah.
They're not going to, but somebody could.
Yeah.
Does Ryan Simonelli still compete? Yes, he was here. Yes, I have blamed him a couple of times recently about the lefties using urethane, which is ironic because he bitches about it like a mofo.
Oh.
But I did kind of remind him that he had a nice run with the natural.
Yeah, that is true. True.
Put tape in your thumb or drill an oval. Both.
Yes.
Oval thumb is almost a absolute necessity.
Not so thin.
I
have, and I'm a guy who uses a lot of tape actually to create a little bit more.
Here we go.
Ray is he's been a manager at North Rock and West Acres, the Joma Centers that recently sold the Bolero for the better part of 40 years, and so he remembers when North Rock, where AJ's is, used to be a miniature golf course. I'm not sure I'm not sure it got finally honed at that beast of a indoor course, but maybe that's the reason why my skills have diminished. Who knows? Which one of you has?
Oh, I see. They were responding to somebody else. Sorry, we don't keep up with it quite in the same way. There's a question for you. At the top of the backswing, should it be parallel to your head?
It's different for different people.
He didn't use the line.
Huh?
He didn't use the line.
I didn't. Go ahead.
It depends.
It's not my line to use. It's really yours.
I mean, it really does depend though, because everybody's different. And I think that the fun thing about bowling is there are very few things that you have to do.
One of the things it should do is you're looking from behind, the ball should be covering your head. If it's inside or outside, you have a few swing issues that are going to have to realign before they get to the bottom. So,
oh boy.
Here we go.
Richard Allen. What was your miniature golf nickname? Would you ever bring it back?
I mean, I don't know if you could pick a less cool group than miniature golfers. So, well, they make a run at it, but no, actually, I did not have one. I didn't. Well, not one they told me, but to be fair, I was like 17. So,
oh dear.
But no, I wouldn't bring it back. What was your nickname at 17, Richard? Okay.
TNT compared to Zen Master. TNT's earlier and smoother.
Yes. But they are both on the smooth side for sure.
So remember, folks, super chats are open. I guess we don't really have that much interesting to talk about this week. We haven't bowled yet, and we did a wrap up from Jackson. I am excited though. I've got a new layout on a urethane, so we can see this one break my heart again. We're doing a 3.5 inch pin, a 2-inch buffer this week. So
we are on the same page because I'm planning on going over there and drilling a lower, weaker pin one to go with. I already have one that's closer to what you're talking about.
Well, I had the lower one, and that one clipped the holes when I got under a bit of stress.
Gotcha.
So we're trying to get it off the holes.
Off the holes. Yeah, that one doesn't flare enough or hook enough. That was my nickname, Richard. That's just what your mom called you when you were acting out. Richard.
Did I get to see the NASCAR? No. I did have someone point out to me that it was a bit odd to have 3 Europeans at a NASCAR event. But Andrew Adler checking in from the Coolwick office. Hey, what's going on? What are you guys getting for lunch? I don't know, but
Firehouse Subs is always nearby there.
That's not what I'm going to get for lunch.
No.
I prefer it when they actually cook the food rather than cook it in the morning and just leave it in the heaters. Firehouse is very average in comparison to Jim. What's it called?
Agree to disagree.
Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is significantly better than Firehouse by a distance. But anyway, we will no doubt go there a few times this week because it's close. Yes, no, Jared is coming. He's going to meet us and help us out. Right. So
yeah, we do have. It's a good food week here. There's a lot of good options.
Let's have a look at the scores quickly at the ToC.
PTQ is going on right now.
PTQ is going on right now. Nick Pate is absolutely crushing them. 10:36 for 4.
Take a guess at what ball.
AJ Chapman 9:41.
Take a guess at what
Brandon
ball.
Novak 9:31. Paki Hanrahan 9:26.
Absolutely no doubt which ball.
Frank Snodgrass 9:10. Craig Lamond 9:09. Dallas Leong, Gene Perez, and Ryan Lane rounding out the top.
The newest PBA
9.
champion.
Who's that?
Dallas Leong. He's been a member for about 5 minutes. He went all the way to Florida to bowl a non-members and
non-champs.
Non-champs. Yeah, correct.
And Ryan Lane, who I crossed with last week, 901 is the number.
He's
they are stacked up is the word I was looking for. Pretty good behind them. Patrick Dombrowski, friend of the show, is 20 out the number, and he's in 15th. So there's still plenty of time for movement. The cross in that building is kind of interesting. So
yeah, there's all kinds of good bad pairs. So 30 pins isn't a lot.
Okay. Kyle's following up. Thanks, man. What impacts on level does age have on the game itself? Speed, revs, accuracy, consistency. I think that obviously getting older, your fast twitch muscles are going to be slower. So I think that that's going to make it harder for rev rate. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, as of 3 years ago, I was still going to Team USA camp, and they would measure it every year, and it still basically stayed static through that time period. But probably the thing that changes is at different times you get after it a little bit more.
Yeah,
because you're not really at 100% hardly ever, and so that the high number probably comes down slightly. Speed, maybe a touch, but I think a lot of that, I never felt like that went down. It just what was required for tour went up, and my ability to do that changes. But flexibility is what changes the most for me. I get way stiffer. You get, as I watch guys progress on the 50 tour, the things that go away seem to be their legs go away, and that's when speed comes down. Is when your legs get out of shape. Then your leverage changes. Then your rev rate goes with it. And so if you can keep your legs and core in shape, that's better. I probably don't feel like I'm as accurate now as I was 10, 15 years ago.
I think.
And so whether that's related to the same things,
yeah,
good chance.
For me, I think that a few things that change, and it's not necessarily when you get super old, but when you've been doing it for a lot longer, I think that you gain more knowledge of what's going on, which can sometimes be a negative because you worry about things that necessarily aren't as important, but are a bit of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be one thing. Another thing that I notice is you have way more scar tissue of things going wrong because the longer you bowl, the more things go bad. Yeah. So that's just a fact because nobody wins more than they lose.
No,
so
not even Belmo, not Simo, not
so you start to, with age, I notice a lot of players start to doubt themselves more, but just because it's just a numbers game, and that's. But yeah,
you get a front row seat sometimes.
Yeah. We were wondering when Belmo said that Walter Ray is the greatest player he's ever seen. Did he use those words specifically because he hasn't seen himself bowl?
I almost certain.
Yeah.
Just judging by conversation with Bill, I think that's
yeah. Going to nationals next week. Thanks, Brian. Good luck. Let's see what we've got going on here. Going to nationals next week. Picking 6 to 8 balls. Okay. DNA, Eternity, Phase 5, Fate, Ruby. Trying to pick a couple of others. Zenu, Reality with a 3-inch pin. I don't really think. I personally think that they've made the lanes kind of similar to last year. I've seen a few videos, and I think that what it really is coming down to is I think they've made them a little softer the last couple of years because it got a little silly how hard they were, and I think that they kind of got the averages under control.
Yeah, with those average brackets, they were going to come down so low that it was going to be pretty tricky. So I do like.
I don't think you need a Reality with a 3-inch pin. I think
depending on how much. Yeah, it might not need to be a 3-inch pin, but I would like a ball above probably the DNA.
Yeah, a Reality
just
would
in
be
case
a pretty good option.
Yeah,
I personally haven't had that much success with the Zenu, but I have seen a couple of lower rev rate players have fun with it. So depending on how you bowl, Zenu could be
a little bit of a control piece for you.
And then looking at these, I might, like for me personally, I'd probably have something that was a little higher RG at the bottom end, whether that be a Revenant or a Burner Pearl, Night Road, something like that, just to give you a little bit of a different, more angular shape than the Ruby. So good luck. Let us know how it goes. Thanks for the super chat. We appreciate you.
Olga wanted to know about we got a couple of chats first. Sorry. Olga will wait.
Hey, Joseph. Thanks again for the super chat. Joined a local, is Super Senior Scratch Tour and doing okay. I bombed on some older lanes that were deep yellow in color and no hash marks. Tips on how to control early hook. I'm a lefty. I'll take this because Chris probably wants to listen.
An unveiled shot.
Basically, if you're playing on those older surfaces where they hook a lot in the front, shiny balls are going to be a good thought. I actually think on some of these lane surfaces that are older, using shinier solid balls is actually a good option. The pearl balls tend to be a little more responsive. So if the dry in the front and the ball hits the dry, it can really pick up quickly. Whereas if you take a smoother ball, like a Reality, for an example, the Reality shiny actually becomes kind of a useful piece when the front part of the lane isn't so good, because it'll skid through that front part of the lane,
right?
And it's not as responsive to the dry. Think of responsive balls as responsive to the dry part of the lane. So if the dry part of the lane is closer to you, it will appear that the balls that are like designed to be more skid flip, the more responsive balls, will actually be a little earlier, because they grab the lane so hard and want to hook.
There's a point to where they skid through easier, and then they don't, and then it actually flips 180
exactly,
and they get offline faster. I get caught in that a little quicker than Stu does. He's better at with loft and with pushing it through that front, and so there's times when it looks like it's the right play because we got caught this weekend. You can make some balls get through there, and I thought, okay, we'll do that, or maybe I'll go a ball below that. And it was good for a little bit, and then it wasn't. And then it got offline so fast that I felt like then I could miss the head pin right for no real reason. And really, if I had a thing to do over this weekend, it's exactly that. Go back to, I had a shiny DNA that was okay. I basically got out of it because I had strikes, like strike flat 10, strike 9 pin, and I got out of it. And every decision I made after that was pretty poor. I never went back to that or say a shiny Reality, those kind of things that probably would have let me at least
and also
be playable.
You've got to be a little bit careful with being on the left side, and you're going to be playing straighter angles. So smoother balls are always going to be your safe space, so to speak. So always bear that in mind. Lean towards the smoother ball, but maybe with a little bit of a cleaner cover, like cleaner finish, so to speak.
That's where a lot of guys throw urethane on the left. Like Couch gets really steep now, and even though he gets really in the lane fast and his ball's hooking early, the urethane will cover that up a little bit more and won't let his ball get offline, even though his rev rate's super high.
So hopefully that answers your question, Joseph. Thanks again for the super chat, and good luck. Okay, Doggonaut looks like Singapore dollar. So hotel looks comfy. Yeah, it's okay. It's a Hilton, so it's overpriced and small and old. But
the bed was comfortable.
Yeah, the bed was comfortable. How significant are layouts, weak versus strong, at the pro level, and are string or what typically more versatile? It really depends on which ball you're using. On asymmetrical balls, the layouts are very significant, and in general, weaker drillings are definitely more versatile. Strong pins like 4.5s or stronger are generally used by the pros as something of a niche ball to control the reaction.
Yeah, keep in mind the average rev rate on tour is 475, probably.
Probably not the average, but yeah.
And 450 and up.
Yeah. But anyway, regardless of any of that. So even the guys who have lower rev rates can't really use shorter pins like that, because they just burn up so much in the front part of the lane,
right? And
we end up transferring the oil down the lane, that it kind of just becomes almost unusable because it's so smooth.
Shortening the lane is probably the biggest thing the guys on tour try to do, where they do it with speed, bowling balls, drillings, loft, but there's not very many weeks where I went, wow, I had the absolute nuts this week. My ball hooked at 10 feet.
Yeah.
For the most part, they got to 30 feet to 40 feet very clean. and we're able to get to that spot easily. And the better you can get to that spot, EJ's ball does pick up before that, but in general, he's able to get it there on a pretty clean line on a regular basis. And Belmo has been great at it his whole career.
So thanks again. Hopefully that answered your questions. Best Mike Fagan story. Well, funniest ones for me are always when Fagan does something dumb. So, like when Jesse Buss tried to shoot the 2-8-10 left-handed and he threw it straight in the gutter, and Fagan muttered under his breath, "Show off," and then Jesse went crazy. That was pretty funny.
Show off?
I'm a show off. I'm a show off. Am I
really?
So for the next 5 frames, Jesse was just yelling, "Am I a show off? Really? Show off?" But Fagan coming over to Europe when he was younger and just absolutely putting a beating on everybody. Like, honestly, Fagan, when he came over, everybody in Europe was like, he is fucking amazing. Like, how does he not win every single tournament he bowls? Because when he came and bowled in Europe, there was plenty of the American guys who came, and Fagan annihilated them. Like, it wasn't even close. And then we're just like, how has this guy only got like 3 titles or 5 titles he ended up with? Like, it was just, but honestly, Fagan was amazing to watch. Like,
yeah, he's so loose.
And he could just do
and so great feel. And he made himself really versatile. He went from a guy who could hook it miles before that many people could, but could also play as straight as anyone.
It's quite ironic because, like, to me, when they were younger or coming in, it's hard to believe that Bill's transitioned to where he is.
Yeah,
because Bill was just like max revs, max speed almost every shot.
He was, a small level below Robert Smith, basically, as far as super talented, tons of shots online, got all of it, every shot, and now he's a touch guy.
Where did it go wrong for him? Like,
now second hand. I think is where it went wrong.
Now he's throwing 14, trying to get back to the same spot. Bill used to throw 16 with a 500 rev rate and throw it 20 miles an hour. Man, I bet he wish he could do that now. He spent all his time getting better.
Yeah.
God, bowling sucks. You think you should do one thing and it ends up screwing you.
Yeah.
What should I expect bowling nationals in Reno compared to Vegas the last 2 years? The Gem and the UC3 have looked good for me. I would think that the lane surface, they're going to skid more in Reno than they have done in Vegas.
They'll play tighter down lane in Reno, historically speaking.
Yeah.
They don't come off the gutter as well. Most pairs at the stadium, there's a few that it comes off the gutter pretty good, but not very many.
Yeah.
And those are mostly the Bowler's Journal lanes. So
I think Bowler's Journal might be in the bar thing downstairs.
I thought it was on the low side. I thought they were using the low lanes.
Oh, okay.
And then they have the other training thing, I think. Mine's downstairs. I believe. I could be wrong. Somebody who's been there, please correct me if that's not right. But I thought I read where the Bowler's Journal was on the low end, and then the practice lanes were downstairs again.
I have fairly good speed control, but for me in Reno, shiny balls have always been really good because they're so tight down lane. They're like using slower speed, and shinier balls has looked really good there. But you know, Thomas Larson won the Masters there.
Thomas Larson's won the Masters there. Tom Hess has won the Masters there. Jack Jurek has led it there. Yeah. Guys who do throw more surface are really floaty through the front of the lane.
Yeah.
So if you want to use those big balls, you need to have rotation and the ability to loft or push it through. And the rest of it, you can use kind of balls that are smoother, but generally have to be a little bit more polished. I haven't been able to use as much angle there as I can at South Point. That would be my historically just building only, unrelated to what the pattern is.
Mm-hmm. I also think in Reno, it's a little more consistent across the bowling center than in Vegas. I think there's a few places in Vegas that it's like, oh my God, this is the nuts. And like, there's a few that it's like, ooh, this probably isn't going to be our year. Just from my times going there. So anyway, whatever. It kind of is what it is. The lane surface in Reno is newer than the one in Vegas because they'd
Yeah.
replaced the lanes a couple of times. So somebody bowling with Faf, who clearly doesn't watch the show very often, says, what is your favorite state to bowl in and why is it Wisconsin? My favorite state to bowl in is Arizona, and it's not even close because it has the best air conditioning in the entire world. I'm fat and I sweat a lot, and you don't sweat in Arizona, so that's where it is. They also put oil in the middle of the lane, so that's another positive.
Bonus.
And the lanes are straight, unlike when we went to Wisconsin. Thank you for the early hook advice. Arsenal is High Road, IQ Tour, Revelant. I guess you mean Revenant.
Yeah.
And Rubicon. That has made me a ton of money. Yeah, the Rubicon was a really niche ball, but the people who liked it, Kyle Troop loves that ball.
It was a cool, because it was a fairly big core, but the cover wasn't super early, and so it did clear the front a little better than some of the other bigger type balls.
He says looking for another ASIM to add. Looking at the balls that you've got and the ones you've liked, I think an Infinite Physics might be a really good option. I think it'll be a little bit more angular than your Rubicon, but it's going to be kind of in that zone. If you want something stronger than the Rubicon, I think that the natural step up would be a reality.
Yeah, it'd be quite a bit stronger in the especially an older Rubicon. Those balls get pretty smooth, and the Infinite will give you way more shape off that. Reality give you more of a similar shape to the Rubicon. It'd just be earlier.
Yeah,
but if you're trying to stay away from the early hook, probably not the way to go.
I'm a Masters volunteer if you need anything.
Cool.
Oh, Masters. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what you meant then to start with. Thanks. I appreciate you. Well, hopefully say hi when we walk round.
Yeah.
Especially if Chris is being upset at the time. It's always a good time to approach him.
Takes me out of my own.
Jakey, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you. That was very kind. Thanks for the tip. I bowled nationals in the group with Jake.
Gotcha.
So, he was my doubles partner last year. Can be. It also can be a lefty nightmare because the lane guy is so aware that Reno's good. So when they decide that they don't want it to be good.
Yeah. South Point is getting on that list pretty quickly too, as being really good there. And at some point they'll skew it the other way, but it's been not so far.
Stu, go to Puerto Rico's AMF Bolero Paradise Lanes. After you make it up the 20 or 30 steps, icebox. Even I was happy not to have shorts on in July. Okay. So when is the next doubles tournament? Want to see you fellas versus the Tang Bros and Brad and Kyle for bragging rights?
Since they combine the four of them for significantly less titles than either of us.
Well, no, they've got 3 between them, so they've got 2.5 between them.
Yeah.
So they've got my 2 covered. I have to bring in Chris's 19.
So I have you at 4. That's
yes,
where you just said. Yeah.
It's just 2. It's only 2.
Double up.
It's only 2. So yeah, Ogle asked a question earlier. Who are your
favorite roommates? I think is what it was.
Yeah, not quite, but we but we do appreciate them, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah. It does get us on some of these weeks when it's it's not super fitting in the schedule.
Yes,
we're trying harder to get them in here because you guys are here.
Yeah. So, favorite roommates or some of your roommates. So I've had a few. Andrew Kane was my daddy for a little while. He was actually registered as my father on Facebook, even though he's younger than I am, for a little while. So we had a bit of fun with that. Haugen was an interesting one. Haugen was a fun one. Haugen's very much everything that has to go into place. Like you could really screw with Haugen.
Yeah.
Like if you walk in, Haugen wants his wash bag in a certain spot every time.
Oh, okay.
So if you get there first and put yours there, then he's just like, yeah. So then he'll put your stuff on a towel and pick the towel up and put it on the other side because it has to be on that side. Like, so there's a few people. Obviously, my weirdest roommate, but by far the most entertaining was PA. So that was fun. You need the good week. You take the top room key. Things like that.
He was a tad superstitious.
Yeah. Lonnie, I roomed with Lonnie a couple of times. That was an interesting deal. Lonnie liked to cook in the room. PA was like, we got to cut off the Indian food, Mom.
Yeah,
the curry's got to go, Mom. So that was another fun one. And then of course we transitioned into the European guys. So Dom is probably the person that I have known the longest, and like I think we're both at more similar points in our lives, I guess is the best point. So there's Dom, and then there's Oscu, Martin. We had Jesper for a while. That was kind of interesting when Jesper was young and single. We got to relive our youth with Jesper. Also very annoying when Jesper first came out on tour because Jesper's wasn't 21.
And
so we couldn't sit at the bar. So Dom was like, you go wait for a table, we're gonna go eat. So that was kind of annoying. And then of course Frankie, ball doubles with Frankie. Almost everybody that I've roomed with is fairly low maintenance. I mean, as long as you go exactly where Dom wants to go for lunch, he's fine. Dom's like,
he's very low about 90% of things.
Yeah.
We're pretty high about those other 10.
Where should we go for food? You say something. Yeah. So anyway, why is that PF Chang's?
Yeah, it's like, why is your favorite? Yeah, what is your favorite state to bowl in, and why is it Wisconsin?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
So that's just, and then of course we got the old man here. So Chris has probably made me the most money rooming with Chris. So that's a positive.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah.
For me, I had Brian Smith, and he was actually my best roommate. We were both young on tour at the same time, no skins on the wall, trying to grind through. Similar place in life, married, no kids, young, working out, trying to keep getting better. And he had the same work ethic. And so, and then as I had more early success than he did, he was still a friend.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to find, actually, when we basically both started at the same spot. And then I was getting a lot of attention, and he wasn't, and he still had my back. And, and so that was great. And then he transitioned off tour 10 years in or so. And then Meek and I were also in similar spots with family at home. And some of the things that get hard out here was, if you miss the cut and you're driving, like he was going home, and you get offended by that, except we both knew what the deal was. And so it was never a problem. And it just, we were both going to try and get home when we could. When the weeks went bad, and same thing, very similar work ethic, was never afraid to put in time, and if it wasn't going good. And I think that's one of the most important parts. And this group's much the same with the 4 of us or 6, however it ends up working out. But you have guys who are out here to bowl, not out here to drink themselves in oblivion and party and whatever else. And when it goes bad, you practice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dan Knowlton says Tony Lannon is his best roommate. He's never bowled bad.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's actually Mark Anderson's fault almost every time. I'm supposed to room with Tony or Dan, and then Mark comes in town, and
only because
anybody else with him.
Only because Cooley isn't 37 yet.
Oof. Yeah.
How do you work on being more consistent? I film myself for an entire game, and even though everything feels the same, my body alignment, body rotation, and slide is different a lot of the time on camera. Well, that's actually good that you get it on film, because that gives you a chance to,
you know where it's going. Right.
Yes.
Look at the early steps, because that's oftentimes, for at least us.
Yeah.
They're early in this first step or two with push away and step direction, and then upper body position as the ball comes down. Those are the three things that probably go wrong most often in the early part. And then that waterfall effect it can be very hard to get it back where you want.
Yeah, and also, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but are you consistently missing? Like, is like, obviously you want to bowl like shot A, but is your miss always shot B, or is it sometimes B and C? Because it's a lot easier to fix it when it's one issue, than it is if it's like, you know, one you step to the right, the next shot you step to the left. Like, footwork is nearly always the main issue with inconsistency in my experience. So I'm a big believer in having your footwork and your cadence, or the speed at which you make the steps, be as close to just walking down the street as possible, because you've got 30, 40 years of practice doing that.
Yeah, that's your drum beat.
Yes, and if you try to do something significantly different in when you bowl, it tends to go really badly wrong unless you're going to practice a lot. So thanks. Hopefully that answers it. If it doesn't, ask us another question and we'll try and so thanks for the super chat, Rev Challenged. I've just seen your question. Sorry I missed you a little earlier. I'm a low rev medium speed bowler with a supernova, not a fan. Infinite physics, absolute fate, hype solid, phase 4 never in play. Any gap filler recommendations on this arsenal? Right. So what I see is the balls that are outside of this phase 4, which I'm not really sure why you're having too much trouble with, but okay. This supernova is quite a smooth piece. Mm-hmm. And with you saying that you're low rev rate, I think that what's probably happening is the ball isn't really spinning up enough. So I would consider taking the supernova and adding some polish to it. Actually, not a fan. You might as well try and get something out of it. My wife kind of fits into this category. She might be a little bit lower speed, but she's still a lower rev rate. She really likes the infinite physics, the fate, the dark code, balls that have like slightly bigger cores, but
kind of two of an older version. I don't know if you can find those anymore.
But she likes balls that have got like kind of bigger cores, but like kind of quick response covers on them. So although the infinite physics is dull, that cover is a little cleaner and a little more angular than some of the other pieces up there. So I think that's why you're really struggling with the supernova. I think it just burns up a little bit in the front and it's getting really smooth down the lane.
Yeah.
And especially like in the absolute and the fate, and then the hype solid being a weaker cover kind of leads us that way. I think right now, if you could get hold of a Revenant, I think you might like that.
Yeah.
I think the Eternity might be another one that would be close.
Could be close. The absolute could be a ball that you could put surface on, because I think it's a little bit quicker in general. And actually, I've liked it when you break that polish with at least a light 2000 anyway. And I thought it became much bigger.
Yeah.
And so that can fit where you're actually wanting that supernova. I assume where you want that supernova to fit, but it's just the ball's pretty slow unless there's a lot of very defined friction. So,
how many roomies have that insisted that most meals have a fast food coupon attached?
Well,
we don't eat that much fast food.
No, but when I roomed with Tommy for Team USA, if you couldn't order it by a number, he wasn't all that interested. So,
and Chinese food wasn't one of those.
No.
I'm looking forward to potentially watching you both on the team.
Adam.
Thanks, Adam. Hopefully later on in the week. Wolf didn't make the cut. Barnes, was he the worst roommate?
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
Well,
we actually didn't room that long, so he was part of a little rotation through there. But
yes,
Benoit was one of the hardest ones because he never slept.
Doug O'Nort says, how much of winning a tournament is luck? A small amount, but it's always, I mean, historically, it always comes down to you need good things to happen. That's the way you win tournaments, when good things happen.
Yeah. Being first, second, or third has a lot to do with winning, because winning 3 games, even 2 games on TV against the other guys that are bowling best is hard.
Well, if you think about it, a TV game, if you just make it 50-50,
Yeah.
like, because the guys you're playing aren't exactly going to be schmucks if they've made it
No.
through. So it's basically a coin flip every time. So the more times you have to flip that coin, the harder it is to win. So
if you're the second seed, 25%. If you're the third seed, 12%. I mean, it's not the way everybody wants to look at it, but
it kind of
realistically, it's very close to that.
Thanks, Michael. I don't know if you've asked a question, but I appreciate the tip. Ben, TNT Zen has worked well for me when staying in one spot. What ball should I look to after the Zen starts overhooking and hitting left of the head pin? Fate has been a good one for me off the Zen. Another one, if you wanted a bigger step down, probably a Revenant. We're starting to really like what that ball's doing.
Yeah.
The Revenant's a lot more angular than the Zen.
Some more similar shape probably goes to that Ruby as far as a.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's funny.
Just smaller core, but yeah.
When you said that, I was like, what's he talking about the Rubicon for? Because Kyle calls it his Ruby.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Me and the Ruby. But yes, the IQ Ruby would be kind of a smoother version. But like, oh my God, as Linda hacked Jake Bedard's YouTube channel. Do either of you read mental or psychological books? If so, what is your favorite?
Bob Rotella is what I listen to on audio all the way.
I've listened to a couple of his books. Yeah,
and just to hear something different. The inner game of tennis is
I didn't like that.
It's
very cliched. I thought
there's a lot in there. I also like reading books like Pat Riley's autobiography and just how they approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good reminder of kind of how your mindset should be versus how it can become. And I got away from it for too long. My wife's a psychology major, and it's been mentioned that maybe I should revisit some of the previous readings. So and get kind of back on the right path a little bit.
Adam, go ahead.
All of them. But because urethane's been so successful here in the past, not only am I looking to use that, but I'm probably looking to drill a second one to see that I have 2 options, because it's so likely that it's going to go down the lane for at least some of it. That when we looked at the standings earlier, Brad Miller got off to a really slow start, and now Vinny shoots 260 game 4, but he's chasing so much that it's just I'm trying not to get out of that.
Yeah, I mean, 18 games is a lot until it's not. Jake, the answer is Bob Rotella.
Yeah, How Champions Think is the one I read, and then
he's got several.
Yeah, the second, the 2 most popular ones are the secrets to.
He's a golf guy, so
he is. But that's probably the most similar process leading up to. You have a process to lead up to a shot, then you make a shot. Obviously, golf and bowling aren't identical, but some of the approaches and the time in between shots is more similar. And so,
to give you an answer, Adam, for me, I'm going to be looking at Pitch Black. Infinite Physics. I think I'm feeling like the Fate might be good a little bit later on when I need to move left. I do feel like that Revenant might be another option for me, because last year, after I got through the first couple of games and the oil got down the lane, the Phase 4 was fantastic for me here. I got almost all my score with the Phase 4. So the ball that kind of replaces that for me right now is the Fate. So
cleaner balls that can kind of make it off of it a little bit.
Still pretty strong covers.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to use the slick oil again this week.
That should help us get to that spot easier.
Yeah.
You and I have both bowled a little better on that one than the other one.
How many bowling balls do you reckon? I know you guys bring a meal in balls. Probably 6. I mean, 6 is usually a pretty good.
We do a setup. We both have a different way of going about it, but basically that's the core, whether it's tour or not, is you kind of have six to eight balls that's your base. Out here, it gets a little bigger. At home, it's mostly 6, and then you go, oh, we're going on short.
20 is the base.
Well, yeah, I can't even keep track. So,
yeah, and and also Chris invents balls. IQ Ruby Emerald, IQ Tour Black.
One time,
IQ Tour Black, and
that's just
I think you guys need a chat bot that answers any questions asking for ball recommendations with the infinite physics. Yeah, that's probably true. Is it easier to do a show in the same room or when you're in space at home? For me, it's a little easier with the own space at home because I don't have to worry about everything because I've got no friction. I've got kind of the lighting set up. I've got like a permanent monopod or whatever you want to call it attached to the table. So I just put my phone on
then we
there.
each kind of take care of different things.
Yeah,
so like take care of the side stuff
like in this show we had lightning strikes for the entire show because I'm rubbish,
and that's normally what I do. And Stu's in charge of the chat and the today. But on the other side, we're not both clicking on different questions at the same time and stuff on each other.
If you want a stone ball that works best after lanes break down and dry out, what is the way to go? Night Road. Robert Eddy doesn't seem too upset that it was lightning strikes for the whole show. Ryan, thanks again, Ryan. One more bowling on a 36 10-1. Woo! In a center, the hook's a ton. How should I combat this transition when it gets super cliff? Well, there's going to be plenty of oil in the middle of the lane. So to me, angle is going to be how you're going to angle is going to be.
Yeah, urethane won't be the only option.
I feel like on 10-1, urethane is going to be terrible because it's going to be the oil. It's going to go dead straight, and you get on the dry, and it's just going to hook like no other.
Yeah, this is where some of those balls that are shiny novas, shiny nova, supernova, those kind of slow come into play. You can take some of those medium ones.
Even like phase 2.
Yeah. And then those middle balls like that. And then if you can roll them or use some more end over end or type rolls, or I guess you can go to 2-inch pins if you need to. But I would imagine 36 feet, you're going to have to throw it at the gutter and then control it off of it.
Dan Nolan, can we get some dog barking white noise?
I'm sure I can make a phone call and get it to happen pretty quick. I'll just ring the doorbell at home on the Alexa. They'll go crazy. So,
okay, Andrew, nice to have you. I don't believe I've ever answered a question from you. I am a high speed, high rev, and I have hell on house shots when they begin to burn. I have a variety of equipment. How do I fight off the super cliff? You got to pick which you want to play. Being more in the oil, using a stronger ball that will blend out is probably the way I would go if I was high speed, high revs. Maybe trying to dial your speed back just a hair is going to be your is going to be your go-to at that point.
And this is where I've changed from my previous philosophy. That's where Ryan's turned me on to. It started out with Axiom Pearl, a shiny ball that was still fairly smooth-ish off the wet, dry cliff. And then he moved into shiny Novas and type balls like that. Even the Revenant can be a little bit smoother off of that if you help it out with some drilling.
Yeah.
Those kind of things I think might be worth a go.
Okay, well, thanks for reaching out, and hopefully that helps. Hey Frank, did we go bowl at no? Well, we bowled yesterday in the Pro-Am.
Yeah, the Pro-Am.
No problem, Ryan. You'll life save some emergency questions. Good luck. Well, let's see how they go first. Hey Joseph, thanks again for your super chats. League bowling close to 50 years, unlike some of my peers who are still mad that they can't throw their old black beauties. I love the modern game. Thanks for the advice. That's very kind. I appreciate you. Thanks for another great show. Thanks, Mark.
I do think it's probably time. We're an hour in, so
I was already struggling with that. Now you're telling me I have to worry about the super cliff too. Same thing.
It is. Yeah, it's just semantics.
I'm in the looking for get bowling lessons. Any recommendations?
Linda Nori Barnes. So she's going to get in the teaching business. Susie Minshew's down south around Fort Worth. Paul Fleming is more in the Watauga area.
I guess you could go into Plano Super Bowl. And,
there's about 4 or 5 guys that coach out of there
on their lane.
Yeah,
that looks like a
cool you have
experience.
Chris Warren in the pro shop area. You got some other people that coach. I think down in the low bay. I think Stephanie Johnson does some coaching out of there as well. But there are 5 or 6 people that do some coaching lessons out there. So that is your go-to area. I'd love to offer my services, but I'll be on tour basically till August. And so there won't be an opportunity to do more than just a one-off.
No, it's kind of difficult to swing past your gut. My stomach gets in the way of my left arm. So
I've tried. It's not nobody's signing up to see me bowl a tournament two-handed.
But thanks again for all of your time. Shout out to all the guys with the super chats. Thank you very much. With that, we will be getting going. So sign us out, Chris.
I appreciate it, guys. And as usual, we will come back, hopefully not till next week because we bowled so well. But if not, we might see us Friday. But between now and then, please support the sponsors that support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, and as you saw on the show, Lightning Strikes, as well as Platinum Ford. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you guys later.